Good evening, Ardra. Pleasure. Thank you for joining and also being part of the Cultinno network of interviews that we are doing with some amazing innovators from across India.
Thank you
Uh,
so much.
it was an absolute pleasure to have you with us. What we're doing today is we're trying to understand, from innovators, where was the root, the seed of your idea? Where did the ideation process begin?
Mhm.
Also, when you talk of the ideation process, what was the gaps that you felt were the critical pain points addressed by the work that you wanted to do? Please, over to you.
Yeah, so I will start with giving the entire credit to my educational background. Actually, I'm an engineer, civil engineer actually. But after doing this BTech, I did MTech in translation engineering. So that was the turning point for me to do something socially active or environmentally sustainable thing. So during my education, I got this idea like the waste management is a huge problem, not only in India but all over the world. So it was like this idea really stuck into my mind, like to do something out of this waste. So we are seeing waste as an opportunity is like a huge, huge building block for the next generation. So the waste is not going to stop coming. So we have to do something about it. How about turning these waste to something useful? That was my idea. So I was a BIRAC Social Fellow, and during that time, I got this really great opportunity to explore various waste management system. And actually, I'm from Kerala. So in the Kerala district of Alapi, where I'm from, we have this coir, huge coir production industry. So I tried to explore that area where I identified that this coir fiber waste is coming as a huge problem for this industry. They don't have any particular, systematic way to dispose this waste. So I was kind of hoping to give some value to this kind of waste, like natural fiber waste. So that was the starting point. So I did my extensive research in that area for like 1.5 to 2 years. I did my research and finally concluded that how about I convert this fiber together with some kind of bio-based element like a polymer to useful packaging solution. Packaging industry is creating huge, vast amount of pollution in around the world. So this is where the idea came from. So the gap I felt was like the lack of research. Like we have so many resources available in our hand, even within the institutions, they have funding, they have the lab facility. But why is this not happening is really the question. Why is no one coming forward to address this problem, not only from the fiber waste, but also the plastic? We have, that is another huge potential area we can explore. So this is where my idea started. So I've been building from this idea for the past 2 to 3 years. So at this stage we have developed a prototype. Actually we have finished our final product and we just entered the market.
Perfect. So I think it's an amazing area, especially since you have an abundance of coir in Kerala.
Yes.
And but also sometimes the problem that comes with abundance is you take it for granted. You kind
Yes.
of have a lot of raw material available, but we don't channelize it effectively. Now, in order to get the coir into your production facility, I'm assuming that you actually process it as part of your venture.
Yeah.
What are the supply chain issues that kind of come into place? How do you actually make sure that it cost effectively comes into your production facility and gets converted into the marketable product?
Yeah, for the supply chain, actually, we just entered the market. We don't have a production facility as our own right now. We were kind of outsourcing the production. So we just started thinking about, creating our own factory so as to tackle the supply chain issue. So I'm taking this coir fiber within the premises of Chertala in Alapi. So we were hoping to set up a plant within Chertala so that, the supply chain or the logistics become a little bit more tackable for us. Otherwise the cost is going to be too high. Even with, the sustainable product is always tagged with this premium thing. One of the main issue is the supply chain and the raw material. So we were trying to bring the cost down by, starting our own facility within the Chertala so that we can source the material from Chertala, create the entire production there itself up to sending it to the customer delivery point. So that's what we are planning right now.
When you're looking at, so I think you kind of really plugged in the critical area, which is getting your supply chain costs right, getting your sourcing correctly. And I
Yes.
think the fact that you're actually going to look at completing the process in the area where the raw material is available can actually bring down costs significantly.
Yes, we are hoping for that. Yeah.
Exactly. So in terms of market access, so once you produced it, I think you crack the manufacturing process. You've got an idea in terms of where you will produce it and how you get the supply chain equation right. The next question then comes out with regard to market access. Are you looking at predominantly a domestic and international market? What is your positioning for your product?
Actually, we were hoping like to enter into Indian market first. So that's what we did for the last 3 months. We were trying to validate our product. So our end product is cosmetic containers or the cosmetic packaging. So we actually kind of supplied approximately like 35 customers pan India to validate our product, and right now we're collecting their feedback. So one of the main challenges faced is the price war. Like uh, we are competing with plastic. So while compared to plastic, we cannot compete in terms of price right now because we don't have that much production facility for the biopolymer area. Even the biopolymer is costlier, which we have to procure. So that is one of the main problem with that. And we were hoping like to bring down the production cost along with uh, creating awareness or the green awareness to the consumer. Our consumer is B2B, so the consumer, we are trying to promote that green consumer behavior within India. So maybe after like we need to establish a brand here in India first, and then we'll be thinking about exporting something.
Have you also looked at, I think you also did mention a short while ago that sustainable products is perceived as high cost, is perceived as premium, which
Yes,
is
yes.
kind of, a one-sided way of looking at it. But frankly, when you look at the inherent benefits of using this kind of product, also, someone packages using your packaging material, I can put a premium on my product itself. So it's actually a good way of actually increasing the premium of your customer's product also by using sustainable packaging. So have you looked at certain products which are already premium, which could kind of use this as a super way of reinforcing the fact that they're sustainable products? So any of your
Yeah,
customers
actually, for the
position
premium,
themselves?
yes, kind of. The thing is, we started promoting our product as premium. Even now, we are promoting and placing our product as premium because we cannot compete with the price of plastic. So we have approached several brands that are selling their product as premium. But even so, since this is a volume business, this is a challenge, or this is the thing that I just found out. Like even with the premium brand, they're ordering the containers or packaging in bulk. So the thing is, it is a volume production. So for 5 rupee a plastic container to 35 rupee a sustainable packaging, if they are ordering for a volume of 1 lakh container monthly, you can assume the price difference that is coming to their brand as well. So it is a really, that is a bottleneck actually. So we are kind of like right now we are supplying for startups promoting sustainability. Like cosmetic startups are there. So we already supply to 2 customers in India. So they can afford like 300 pieces to 500 pieces. But when it comes to 1 lakh pieces, that is the price will become a major challenge. So we are trying to solve that for our, the premium customers.
Sure. So supposing now, so I think we've got the gap that you addressed, the where you're going to produce it, what are the kind of constraints at the moment that you're facing, and of course some amount of idea of your aspiration in taking this brand, how you're going to move ahead with this brand. Now coming to if you want to talk about funding and access to finance, and also looking at for any innovator. What are the things that you would like to perhaps tell our innovators and say? Well, I personally believe there's great money chasing a great idea. So, one, do you believe that? Second, do you want to give any advice on funding for these kind of sustainable ventures to other innovators that are watching you?
Yeah, actually, we have so many funding opportunities in India. Like from the Startup India, we have the seed fund or the Didi prayers like EIR. So many fundings are available, but what we have to search for is where we place our brand or our company, in which sector we are placing our company. So in my case, I'm working with value to waste. So there are certain area or certain incubators that funds for these kind of startups. So I think for the young innovators or people coming to looking for funding, you have to look specifically for that kind of incubators. If you are randomly applying for funding, you won't get into that. You will just waste your time. So that is from my experience. So I've been actually Startup India seed funded from Will Grow Innovations. So Will Grow is actually promoting waste to value team a lot. So for it will stick with their goal of funding as well as mine. So like that, we have to specifically target the funding organization, I believe.
Perfect. And have you accessed funds, equity funding, or are you largely bootstrapped at the moment?
I'm bootstrapped currently, as well as I have this grant from Startup India Seed and Nidhi Prayas. Right now, I'm running with that.
Yeah, but
So
certainly
next
believe
stage, I
that,
was looking for investors.
yeah. So I think for you, so you do believe that, for sustainable ventures, the innovators need to look at purpose-driven funds who
Yes,
will understand the purpose behind the business
yes,
and
exactly.
look at it in a proper manner.
Yes, yes. And I also believe like in sustainable business, it will not be like a sudden growth. It will take time. So you need someone behind you that will believe in that goal.
Sure.
Like you can't get the returns just like in 2 or 3 months. So it is a really slow process. So yeah, that
What
kind of thing is really important in that.
and what has been your biggest success so far in your 3 years that you've been doing this?
Actually, while I was starting, I think the prototype development itself was a huge success for me. I'm not from the polymer background, so but I was really interested in, you know, I'm really into the innovation around this space. So before starting that, I was talking with experts in the field. So these people actually discouraged me like this is not possible. So once I had my prototype done, that was the moment for me.
Okay. That was your biggest kind of wow,
Yes.
eureka moment. And you
Yes,
said,
that was yes, this is possible. I was like, okay. So many people was telling me, like experts and scientists were telling me, like, okay, this is not going to work. This fiber size is not going to work. I don't, but you have this feeling like, okay, this is going to work. So I did my prototyping in Gujarat. So in Kerala, no one was allowing me to use their machinery because they were afraid like it will clog their machinery. So I had to travel up to Gujarat to do a prototype. And while I was doing that, it was a success. Like I made like a spoon and bowl using the material. So that was my big moment.
super. And what has been your, when you kind of, one of the points where, people, did not kind of support what you were saying and they were proved right. And perhaps you said, okay, fine, now I need to hold on. I'm going to listen to what these guys are saying. I think this was one where you didn't listen to people. Was there
Yes.
a point when you had to listen to somebody? And
Not in this, actually, not in this product. Before that, I was working with water hyacinth, the water weed. Yeah, at that time, I got this. So that was my first startup. So
okay,
together with two other friends, I started Ecoloop. So during that time with water hyacinth, at some point, I knew that this is not going to work.
okay,
Even I knew that, but I kind of, it was like a baby to me, my first
yeah.
baby like that. So I kind of stick on to that idea for too long, I guess. But at certain point, I was like, okay, this is not going to work. But even now, I feel like I wasted that much time behind an idea that won't work.
Sure. And how much of your journey has been clinical versus emotional? Sometimes you have a very clinical approach to building a business. Sometimes you have a super emotional approach to building a business.
I think this
What?
goes hand in hand together.
Hmm?
At some time, you have to believe in your intuition. Even there has to be some logic reason also behind it. But also, as an entrepreneur, I think emotion is also important. Otherwise, you won't sustain.
Yeah, you can't get completely characterless and emotionless and kind of just be
Yes.
a you know
Yeah, that won't work. I don't think that won't work.
okay.
Even
How
you
many
have to
people?
connect with people.
Sure.
So yeah, that is really important. Like a team building, even the team building was a huge challenge for me during the initial stage. But right now I understand that if we talk to people or within the team, we have to have that emotional connection because we are building a startup from nothing, zero. So we need that support.
And how many people work with you at the moment?
Right now we are a team of three.
A team of three. And you handle the marketing and the production and the operations all amongst the three people, or you have
Yes, yes.
outsourced some of your work?
Actually, we handle all these three. I think mainly the outsourcing part we are targeting with CPET. Actually, we have a collaboration here in CPET. But even there, even with the missionary working, my team will always be there.
Sure. And if you had to give some advice to the young startups and entrepreneurs who are looking at setting up ventures, what would you suggest that they look at in terms of government schemes, in terms of certain very favorable Startup India programs, certain skills that they need to perhaps address? What would be perhaps 3 pieces of advice that you would like to give them?
Okay, so I think for the young generation or the young, the innovators, rather than going before the funding, I see this kind of behavior in so many startups. Like even before starting, they look for huge funding, which they might not need at that time. And after receiving this funding, they find it really difficult to manage that. Not the funding, they are responsible for something. They have to give answer to something. So the entire, the vision will change. They have to spend the money. That will be the entire goal. So that is one thing I will say. Like understand where you need the funding, at what stage you need the funding. Not becoming a unicorn within, like, that shouldn't be the goal. Actually you have to build something tangible, even with even a product. You have to make sure the quality is the best. You have the market segment. You need to talk to customers before going, into all this fundraising. But you in Startup India, I think in our central government schemes, we have so many seed funds available. For idea development, funds are available. Even in Kerala, we have Kerala Startup Mission. So in Startup Mission, they have the funding for idea to prototype, like 5 to 6 lakhs. That is enough for developing a prototype. So that kind of, I think you have to select that funding, where you stand at, where you want to be. That is the really important part.
To understand really why you need it. So that's one of the
Yes.
biggest pieces of advice that you'd like.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And do you think some products are over-engineered? They get too
Like,
complicated. They get too complicated. Nobody understands the product. Because sometimes what happens when startups try to build apps, for instance, build physical products, they make it so complex. They try to bundle everything into it. And it becomes an over-engineered product and therefore very expensive. So what's your thought on that, on the product
yeah,
design?
the design part is really important. Like you have to understand the customer perspective. So if I'm designing something, in my case, I'm telling, like, for a cosmetic brand, so it should be aesthetically beautiful to see that. But if I do an octagonal or some pentagon design to a cosmetic container, it won't work. So it should, like the cream, it will be difficult to take the cream out of the container. So the design perspective, we have to think from the point of end user. So
Sure.
our engineering, it will give maybe to the innovator a level of satisfaction, but not to the end customer. So I think, yeah, maybe during the initial stage before validation, we have to actually talk to. It's really important to talk to customers, understand their pain point, and to collaborate your idea within that segment.
Sure. And just to sign before we sign off, if I want to ask you, what would you and Greenamor Ventures like to be remembered for? What would be the legacy you're creating?
Yeah, we want to be the trailblazer for introducing sustainable packaging, that too in cosmetic sector.
Perfect. And would I describe yourself in a couple of adjectives?
I would say I'm an innovator. I just love doing R&D. I just love to be in that space to create innovation that is valuable to the society.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
spending time and doing this, CultInno conversation.
Thank you
And
so
I do
much.
hope that stay connected and have you
Sure.
interact with many of our innovators in the future. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.